Therapists of Reddit, what was your biggest "I know I'm not supposed to judge you but holy crap" moment? I was once in my psychiatrist's office a bi-monthly, 15 minutes med check. She asked me what was going on more as conversation. I told her that in the last 6 weeks, my 3 elders, aunt and 2 uncles, I was guardian/conservator for had died one right after the other. My wife had a heart attack. My daughter attempted suicide. And my mom broke her hip and had laid on her floor for a week before being found. She drank and ate from the dog's bowls. I got that call within 10 minutes of setting up the last funeral. She stopped the meeting, got on the phone with a therapist in the office next to her and had her postpone her next meeting to speak with me. I was so effed up, I had no idea. I think she saved my life. I really hope you're doing better, man. TBH, it's actually part of training to ask what is going on like that, for the exact reason that there are some people suffering like you. And because people may share other things about themselves which are useful for healthcare providers, but lay people may not think of as relevant. This is a literal nightmare. I hope you and your family are doing better. Jesus Christ on a crutch. I would be too numb and confused with shock to do much of anything. I hope you're doing better now. MVP therapist. I feel like a lot of the comments saying that they never judge their clients might be working in voluntary services or they've been very fortunate in their client base. Judgment isn't an inherently bad thing. It's how we know that murdering people is wrong. So when a convicted pedophile client told me, "Nothing gets me going like a pair of little girls' worn panties," you better believe I judged the F out of him. I continued to work with him and I treated him with compassion and respect because he's a human being worthy of both. I did my job because I'm a professional. But I can't honestly say that I didn't judge him. I judged that he should never be around children. I judged that he is not yet ready for change. I judged that his access to his own daughter should be closely supervised. That's a lot of judgments. Understanding your own inherent biases and how they influence your work is a very important part of training and practice. I think that people here are sometimes using different definitions of judge, that's all. Edit. I work in linguistics and so many disagreements are just caused by people with different definitions of a term not noticing that. Yes, I think you're right. There's judge as in use your moral faculties to determine right from wrong, and there's judge as in condemn. I've definitely seen both in this thread. Here's my most recent one. As the pandemic worsened here in the US and more lockdowns are on their way, one of my most extroverted clients and I brainstormed ways to meet her social needs while remaining safe. The following week she canceled her session and told me that she's positive for COVID after attending an orgy, which definitely wasn't one of our ideas. I let out the deepest, most defeated sigh after I hung up the phone. I'm super extroverted and the struggle in 2020 is real. I just spend a lot of time on Discord chatting to people. Amazingly, I haven't caught COVID. Just out of curiosity, did you attend orgies before COVID? Is extroverted a way of saying you're into orgies? Sextroverted. Virgin-troverted. I work with youth and adolescents who have anxiety, trauma, and/or depression. Some of the kids I worked with had some pretty severe attachment issues. Regardless of this, I never thought I'd have to seriously explain, you can't just buy a straitjacket for your kid. Feeding your kid ultra-spicy ramen each night instead of the meal everyone else is eating isn't specifically defined as abuse, but you have to understand the emotional abuse that this causes. Your kid isn't trying to kill you because they stand in your doorway at night crying. That's likely because they're scared of their traumatic nightmares, but feel like you will just yell at them if they wake you up. Edit. Removed a phrase. Edit 2. Thank you all for your questions and support. This case has really helped to shape my approach to therapy, and has highlighted the importance of healthy communication between parents and kids. My number one tip: don't let someone else tell you how you feel/think. If someone says, "You're angry with me," or something to that effect, ask yourself if you really are. If you're not actually angry, then don't spend a second more on it. A lot of kids/family members get hung up on trying to justify their own actions according to someone else's perception. Edit 3. Fix straitjacket spelling. No, it's not a jacket for sexual orientations. As a therapist, at what point do you have to inform the authorities when the family display abusive behaviors towards their children? Not original post, but am a child therapist. We report to the state anytime we suspect abuse. Emotional abuse is harder to prove, but we still report, and it's up to the state to 1. Flag it in 2. Investigate 3. Find proof 4. Keep the kid safe. In my state, it rarely goes past number 1 unless the kid is basically already harmed or their parents OD'd. I used to have horrible nightmares as a kid and used to just stand in my parents' doorway wanting so damn bad to wake them up and be comforted, but knowing full well my dad would be scarier than any nightmare. Holy crap, number 3 is a heartbreaking image. I'm going to go hug my daughter now. For real, some messed up crap. Hug her for me too. Hope that family got sorted out for the better. Clinical psychologist working primarily in forensics here. This means my clients are usually involved in legal proceedings, family court, juvenile court, criminal court, etc. My job is usually to evaluate or provide treatment. I'm not there to judge, that's the judge's job, but of course I have my thoughts. I am usually impressed by the justifications people make for crafty behavior. The one that irks me the most is when parents manipulate their child against the other parent. I've had to do therapy for a 5-year-old who said she doesn't want to see a parent because they haven't paid child support. Excuse me? What 5-year-old knows, understand, or needs to be worried about child support? I got my father accusing my mother of turning me and my siblings against him. We were 14-year-old, 9-year-old and 7-year-old at the time, and never acknowledged that he was the one doing all kind of crafty things to us. We had 8 years of pure pain with social assistance. We got effed by family as CPS who only thought about the good for the family. I'm kind of sensible to this argument as it has been using against me, my siblings and my mother. Edit. I see that many children are or have been in my situation. Specialists tried to mark us with PA, parental alienation syndrome, a really controversial syndrome that isn't really official, but neither was proven wrong at the time. CPS F'd me too as a kid, not wanting to split up the family after me and my sister told them the emotional and mental abuse our father put us through. FCPS. Exactly. So many of us have been absolutely effed in the ass by CPS. I remember my grandma called CPS several times when I lived with my mom and stepdad, but because it was mostly physiological abuse and neglect, they didn't give a crap. One day my grandma was just like F it and picked me up from there, and I haven't gone back since. God bless your grandma. My sister crawled out a window at 3 years old and went to grandma's next door. My grandma came and took me out of my crib and took me home with her too. Our grandparents raised us from them on. We only randomly stayed with our mom the rest of her life. After our mom died, our dad asked if we wanted to go live with him in WA or stay with grandma and pa. We stayed and he gave them legal guardianship of us both. We loved our mom, but she was truly troubled and addicted to drugs most of her adult life. I work in mental health and have worked in acute and crisis settings for the majority of my career. The most notable event I experienced was when a young person had presented with significant ongoing suicidal ideation who was dealing with a lot of crap. I spent a lot of time with them, mostly de-escalation and working out what the plan should be moving forward. One of their parents came in a little while later and I had the opportunity to speak to them about where their child was and what had been going on, with their consent of course. Midway through me trying to explain some of the psychological constructs and ways the parent could help, they said to me, "Is this going to take much longer? I have a show to go and watch." All I can say is, I never judge my patients, and I have never walked their path or viewed the world through their eyes. But the people around them who perpetuate the suffering of the people I work with through ignorance, malice and selfishness, I judge them. Edit, and a shameless one. I've tried to reply to as much as I could. I've enjoyed some of what I would assume is trolling and talking about some other people's experiences, as it's given me a chance to reflect on some of my own stuff. But I must go to bed. I'd like to ask one thing of anyone who reads this: remember that you can help, even just by asking how someone is or wishing them well. People who you think may be struggling and even people who aren't. This year has been hard on us all, and I appreciate all of you who have said that those in care services have difficult jobs, but we have all struggled this year. Please be as kind as you can to each other, and I hope we can all look forward to a good December and even better New Year. Edit 2. My use of the word judge needs some clarification. I do judge in some ways. It's hard not to with what I see, who I work with, and the situations they experience or have experienced. What I mean by not judging is that I do not allow my judgments to distort what I am seeing or how I am working, which will normally be to the benefit of the patient and those around them trying to help them achieve their goals and meet their needs. Final edit. I didn't think this post would get as big as it has. And I cannot respond to every comment individually by any means. I'm sure the post will be getting less attention moving forward, but I just wanted to clarify some things. This parent, who many people have made multiple assumptions about, was not trying to redirect, deflect, or remove themselves from the situation by stating they had a show to watch. The show being something else people have assumed was a TV show. Remember, I've made the comment above in the context of a situation that lasted around 5 to 6 hours for me, but took you a few minutes to read. With everything that's going on right now, I wanted to make this post to let people know, those working in mental health have heard a lot. We don't judge you for how or what you're feeling, and we want to work with you to help you. I simply wanted to help in some way with a comment on the internet that I wrote in one go about an experience I have had. I know that the response to this has been overwhelmingly positive, but I would also like to say I did not mean to cause any offense or upset to anyone or claim that I am some sort of unachievable goal of non-judgment. Anyway, I'm going to try and forget about this now. Wow. Some people just shouldn't have kids. 100%, not everyone is made to be a parent. Yeah, that's a parent. Some parents just shouldn't have become parents in the first place if this is how much they value their own kids' happiness. Some people really are ignorant when it comes to mental health, and that's something I'll judge. Sometimes, I just don't understand. Why did they have kids? Like, why? What was the point? Peer pressure? Accident? Children aren't emotionless slaves, they're human beings. Edit, this blew up more than I expected. I just want to say I'm not as angry as I sound, and that I understand why these things happen. Still, feel free to respond. Some people only like children at certain ages, like when the first few years when the child is mostly helpless and easily handled and the parents get attention and compliments on their child. They lose interest once the kid starts thinking for themselves and resisting what the parent wants them to do. Others have kids thinking their kid is going to be the do-over of the parent's life. The kid is going to be a baseball star, because the parent couldn't be. Yep. They love the idea of babies, not the idea of raising future independent adults. My boyfriend's mother frequently reminisces over photos and tells him how sweet he used to be when he was a little kid. Her resentment of him began when he started developing opinions of his own. She's a great caretaker of the helpless, and she's a great elementary education professional. But she's terrible at being a parent to an adult. Decent parents don't say things like, "My friend's son does all her yard work, why don't you do that? You must hate me, you're a horrible person, and you obviously don't love your family because you don't want to watch your father die." When I was underage, I got caught with a drink on Bourbon Street and got a minor in possession. I was telling my therapist about it, and said that the police caught me with a hand grenade in New Orleans. He didn't realize that a hand grenade was a type of drink, and it was funny to watch him try to process that his patient might have just casually told him that he had been caught with a fragmentation grenade. He took a big long pause, and said, "Where did you even find a grenade?" I realized the misunderstanding quickly and corrected him. But for a moment he definitely was thinking, "Holy crap, how do I deal with this?" At last I have a similar story. So this was back when I was in my first year of engineering study, and I just thought that the materials paper was the crap. I especially liked the whole steel section, and at the time my depression and general situation wasn't amazing, so it was one of the things sort of keeping me going, you know? So of course when my therapist asks about my passions and goals, I said, "Well, I like steel." And she paused and said, "Okay. What do you like about stealing?" This poor woman thought I had pulled out some surprise kleptomania late in the game. Luckily, like a good therapist, she was non-judgmental but still obviously relieved when I corrected her. Steel is effing great, buddy. I too am the nerd that likes learning about metallurgy and steel compositions. I was reading a bit about nitrogen steel recently, and that stuff is pretty cool. Edit. Shout out to usertint_snob for providing web link, Reddit link. Tell me more about nitrogen steel. I have a background in physics, so don't hold back on me. Oh God. I don't, so we'll see how well I explain it. People have recently started using nitrogen as an alternative to carbon in steel. It allows for a more oxidation-resistant steel, meaning theoretically less post-heat processing. I believe it also allows for a higher hardness than traditional carbon steels. The problem previously was the volatility of nitrogen not allowing enough saturation. However, adding chromium and pressurizing a nitrogen atmosphere have allowed manufacturers to get up to 3% mass. Unfortunately, the chromium required makes pretty much all high nitrogen steel stainless, which is always more difficult to work with. The reason there was a new article to read was that apparently through particle metallurgy and static pressure, people have made a simpler alloy like you can find in plain carbon steels. Which could mean a replacement of carbon in most steel, instead of just high chromium stainless. It probably won't, but it could. And I like that thought. Holy crap, that's hilarious. I just like the causal nature of it. The cops found me with a hand grenade, so they wrote me a ticket and called my parents. Dad was mad and I lost the PlayStation for a couple days. Thank you for watching. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube. And share them with your friends. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. We welcome your comments below. Another of our videos will begin shortly.